Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you 3 more cheap skins for every gun in CS2, this time under $5. Every skin here will be in field tested unless stated otherwise, and I will be using Steam's market prices. There are a few skins a little bit over $5, but I tried to keep them all under budget, and remember to check third-party sites for cheaper prices. This is the second iteration of my video that showcases skins under $1, so before you comment that I missed a cool skin, I recommend you watch that video because it might be in that one. And before we start, I'm really close to 1,000 subs, so if you enjoy this video, a sub would be much appreciated. Now, with all that out the way, let's see some more skins. Starting with the P2000, we have Obsidian at $1.96. This is a dark skin that looks like a combination of Carnivore for the MAC-10 and Darkwing for the SG553, and I really like the way it fades from black to red. Next for the P2000 is Wicked Sick at $2.77. The color scheme on this skin reminds me of Evangelion, and I think the mix of patterning and colors makes it look really good. Finally, for the P2000 is Imperial Dragon at $3.03. This skin is a reddish orange with a subtle outline dragon on it. I'm not really a fan of this skin, but I do think the design on the back of the slide is pretty cool. Moving on to the USP-S, we have Cortex at $2.15. If you've ever played around as a CT, you've almost definitely seen this skin before. It's very common, but for good reason. The pink is very nice and vibrant, and you have a little skeleton buddy with you. Next for the USP-S is Stainless at $3.81. This skin is very simple, but I'm a big fan. The clean metal look is beautiful, and the black suppressor is just the cherry on top. Finally, for the USP-S is Blueprint at $4.74. This skin is also fairly simple, with only the suppressor and lower being a noticeable blue, but the slide has a nice blue outline, and this skin would look great in a blue loadout. Moving on to the Glock 18, we have Vogue at $2.95. This skin is very vibrant and has a sort of vaporwave color palette with a woman's eyes on the side. It also says "Look at me" on top of the slide, which I think is a pretty cool detail. Next for the Glock 18 is Water Elemental at $4.09. I'm a huge fan of the skin. The blue and red looks great together, the water design is really nice, and there's some pretty nice detailing on the red as well. Finally, for the Glock 18 is Wasteland Rebel at $4.11. This skin is covered in white graffiti and looks really dirty and rough, but I think it works pretty well on the Glock. Moving on to the P250, we have See Ya Later at $2.69. This skin obviously plays off of the phrase "See ya later, alligator," and features a pretty cool robotic alligator on the barrel. Next for the P250 is Visions at $3.02. I absolutely love this skin. The vibrant colors, the almost psychedelic design, and the fact it doesn't wear normally but instead darkens so you don't have ugly scratches makes this skin amazing. Finally, for the P250 is Asimov at $3.19. This skin is just a traditional Asimov black, white, and orange, but the Asimov design looks good on any gun, including the P250. Moving on to the 5.7, we have Boost Protocol at $1.27. This skin is another sort of sci-fi, cyberpunk type skin and has a lot of bright colors along with a mech on the slide. Next for the 5.7 is Monkey Business at $2.87. This skin has a banana throughout the entire gun and has some nice blue accents that match the sticker. The sticker also says 5.7 on it, which is a pretty cool detail. Finally, for the 5.7 is Angry Mob at $3.01. This skin has 4 little guys on the grip and also has a very vibrant colorway, and the designs on it remind me of street art and comics. Moving on to the Tech 9, we have Remote Control at $2.15. Personally, I'm not a fan of the skin, but it has a futuristic look with exposed electronics that you might like. Next for the Tech 9 is Fuel Injector at $2.38. This skin obviously goes along with the AK skin of the same name, and I think the industrial design works just as well on the Tech. Finally, for the Tech 9 is Isaac at $2.47. This skin was made by the same person who made the Asimov skins, and you can definitely tell. It has the same small graphics, but I think I prefer the Asimov color scheme. Moving on to the CZ75 Auto, we have Eco at 75 cents. This skin has a really nice green and sort of gray beige, and it fittingly looks like farming equipment. It also has a barcode on the barrel, which is a pretty cool detail. Next for the CZ75 Auto is Syndicate at $3.49. This skin has a really nice gold and black color scheme with some little hints of blue, and I think it works really well together. Finally, for the CZ75 Auto is Yellow Jacket at $5.22. This skin is pretty simple, it's just some yellow streaks throughout with some very subtle gray accenting, but personally, I don't think it's worth the price tag. Moving on to the dual Berettas, we have Royal Consorts at 37 cents. This skin looks really elegant, and I love the engravings on the gold, and the green on the grips works really well. Next for the dual Berettas is Melon Drama at $1.51. This skin is terrifying, but the art is amazing and the colorway is really nice. It also has some cool detailing with little designs here and there. Finally, for the dual Berettas is Twin Turbo at $3.60. This skin is obviously racing themed with a ton of fake sponsor decals throughout the gun and a racing number decal on the grips. Moving on to the Desert Eagle, we have Naga at $1.50. This skin is very simple with just some engravings, but I think the simplicity works really well for it. Next for the Desert Eagle is Mecha Industries at $4.14. Just like the other Mecha Industry skins, this one has a very nice futuristic theme and a really nice colorway as well. Finally, for the Desert Eagle is Conspiracy at $5.68. This skin is pure black with gold accenting, and I think it looks amazing. Unfortunately, it doesn't wear very good, but the black helps hide the imperfections. Moving on to the R8 Revolver, we have Crimson Web at 10 cents. Everyone knows about Crimson Webs, and I like the way the skin looks on the Revolver. Sadly, this skin does not wear very well. Next for the R8 is Banana Cannon at 37 cents. The perfect counterpart to the 5.7 skin, this revolver is obviously modeled as a banana. The little stickers on it say CSGO, which is another cool detail. Finally for the R8 is Blaze at $1.45 in factory new. This skin is the same as Blaze for the Deagle, except it isn't $500. I like the flame design on here, and this skin is super clean. Moving on to the MP9, we have Food Chain at $1.61. This is another bright skin and has art of different colored animals eating each other in succession on it. This skin also has a cute little smiling Cyclops underneath the iron sight. Next for the MP9 is Starlight Protector at $4.02. This is another pretty common skin, and it has a unicorn with a really bright mane, along with some stars throughout the gun. Finally for the MP9 is Hydra at $5.31. This skin is a really nice green and fittingly has a Hydra on it. I like the skin a lot, and I also think it'd look good in an all green loadout. Moving on to the MAC-10, we have Sakaku at $1.16. This skin has a woman with very striking eyes on it, and in certain lighting they will glow red. Sakaku also means illusion in Japanese, which describes the illusion of the eyes glowing red. Next for the MAC-10 is Heat at $2.30. Just like the Mag-7 skin with the same name, this skin is outlined with a really nice glowing design, and I think it works pretty well on the MAC-10 as well. Finally for the MAC-10 is Discotheque at $2.50. This is probably one of my favorite MAC-10 skins because this skin has a really cool prismatic effect that changes colors whenever you inspect or reload, which I love. Moving on to the PP Bizon, we have Fuel Rod at 76 cents. This skin is grimy looking but has a bright green magazine with a radioactive hazard sign above it. And as I said, this skin is grimy but I think is pretty cool. Next for the PP Bizon is High Roller at $2.48. This skin is one of the coolest concepts I've seen, utilizing the giant magazine really well by making it a stack of chips, and the colorway is also really nice. Finally, for the PP Bizon is Judgment of Anubis at $5.17. This skin has a very apparent ancient Egyptian theme, and I like the art and the gold accenting on the skin. Moving on to the MP7, we have Bloodsport at $1.39. This skin is covered in logos and decals and has a really good looking red, white, and gray color scheme that has a little bit of gold mixed in. Next for the MP7 is Neon Ply at $1.86. I really like the colors on this skin, and this skin somehow manages to take a colorful neon wood design and make it not look absolutely horrible, at least to me. Finally, for the MP7 is Fade at $5.45. This skin is a little over budget, but I think it's worth it. The Fade skin is very iconic, and I think it works really well on the MP7. Moving on to the MP5 SD, we have Condition Zero at 54 cents. This skin is basically a more yellow version of the Agent skin, isn't as metallic, and isn't themed to CTs, so it's less ridiculous to use on T-side. Next for the MP5 SD is Phosphor at $3.35. This skin is also pretty simple, just paint dripped over a navy body, but I like the usage of all the different colors. Finally, for the MP5 SD is Nitro at $3.41. This skin is really simple, just black and orange, and I think the colorway looks pretty nice, aside from making it look a little bit like a toy gun. Moving on to the UMP-45, we have Primal Saber at $2.30. This skin is a really nice blue and has a saber-toothed tiger skull on the side. It also has a paw print underneath the iron sight, which is pretty cool. Next for the UMP-45 is a Wild Child at $2.78. This skin is very vibrant and chaotic with a ton of different colors and a bunch of little designs throughout, and I think it works pretty well. Finally, for the UMP-45 is Momentum at $3.45. This skin is a really nice red and blue with a ton of arrow graphics on the side. I couldn't care less about the arrows, but the colors used are really nice. Moving on to the P90, we have Shallow Grave at $1.61. This skin is pretty dark, but has a little bit of red throughout the side along with the skull. The grip is also painted to look like stones, which I think is pretty cool. Next for the P90 is Shapewood at $1.75. This skin is another really basic one. It's just painted to look like wood, but I honestly kind of like how basic it is. Finally for the P90 is Nostalgia at $5.10. This is another rugged looking skin covered in graffiti, and if you're a fan of rough skins, you'll probably like this one. Moving on to the FAMAS, we have ZX Spectron at $1.46. This skin is probably one of the coolest skins in the game in my opinion. The black and red design is awesome, and the 4 stripes add a nice splash of color. Next for the FAMAS is Rapid Eye Movement at $1.51. This skin is super cool and I love the concept. The eyes are kind of unnerving, and sometimes when I inspect the gun I feel like they move. Unfortunately though, they don't, which is kind of a missed opportunity in my opinion. Finally for the FAMAS is Mecha Industries at $3.35. Just like I said with the Deagle, I love the futuristic theme of the skin and the design is really nice. Moving on to the Galil, we have Rocket Pop at 97 cents. A commenter named Scrubstar9056 mentioned the skin, and although I don't think the skin wears that well, I do love the colorway on it. Next for the Galil is Chromatic Aberration at $1.72. Honestly, I was surprised the skin was so cheap considering it's one of the nicest Galil skins, but I'm definitely not complaining. Finally for the Galil is Eco at $4.72. I'm surprised this skin is as expensive as it is because I think Chromatic Aberration is much nicer, but I do like the green and white on this skin. Moving on to the M4A4, we have Griffin at $1.86. This is a pretty low-key skin. It's just black with a brown griffin and some feathers throughout the gun, and although it's simple, I like it. Next for the M4A4 is Spider Lily at $2.85. This skin is a really nice blue and has some accenting on it that's painted in a really nice red. I rarely see this skin used, but I think it's pretty nice. Finally for the M4A4 is Tooth Fairy at $3.10. This is probably one of the most well-known M4A4 skins, so I'm sure you already know about it. But I like the faded pink on the skin, and the art on it is really nice too. Moving on to the M4A1S, we have Emphasaur S at 63 cents. This skin is another pretty common skin and is a nice green color. It also features a dinosaur literally breaking out of the skin, which I think is a pretty cool concept. Next for the M4A1S is Nitro at 86 cents. This skin is very simple, but I think it's super clean. The colorway is great, and the orange and gray contrast each other very nicely. Finally for the M4A1S is Leaded Glass at $4.94. I'm a huge fan of the skin. I think the orange, blue, and black goes together really nicely, and the design that makes the skin look raised is also pretty cool. Moving on to the AK-47, we have Slate at $2.10. This skin is probably as clean as it gets because it's just pure black, and I think it looks really good. But where the skin really shines is with crafts. Because the skin is black, it's basically just a nice clean slate for crafts. Next for the AK-47 is Safety Net at $3.58. By all accounts, the skin should be considered ugly. It's a loud orange on top of a light gray and dark green, but for some reason I just really like it. Finally for the AK-47 is Phantom Disruptor at $4.29. This skin has a sort of nightmarish design, and I think it's pretty cool. The colors are nice and the art is absolutely amazing. Moving on to the AUG, we have Momentum at $1.80. This skin is also on the UMP, and again, I like the blue used for the arrows, and the red used is also really nice. I probably like this skin more on the AUG than on the UMP. Next for the AUG is Arctic Wolf at $1.88. This skin is also on the UMP, which was featured in my Skins Under $1 video. Just like the UMP skin, I love the layering of the different colors of fur, and the concept of the skin is just really nice. Finally for the AUG is Death by Puppy at $4.98. This skin has a kind of psychedelic design, but unfortunately it wears very badly, which I'm not a fan of. But if it doesn't bother you, I guess the skin is for you. Moving on to the SG553, we have Dragon Tech at 53 cents. I'm a big fan of this skin, I use it myself, and I think the art on it is great. I also think this skin would be perfect for a green loadout as well. Next for the SG553 is Pulse at $2.39. I see a lot of people using this skin, but I don't really like it all that much. The colors used are nice, but this skin just kinda always looks worn to me. Finally for the SG553 is Cyrex at $5.01. This skin is a really simple black, but has some nice white and red accenting that really completes the skin and makes it look as good as it does. Moving on to the SSG08, we have Acid Fade at $1.30 in factory new. This skin is also really simple, it's just a really nice green that fades into yellow at the stock, not much else to say about it. Next for the SSG08 is Parallax at $2.73. This skin has a really cool holographic effect going on, and it's really similar to Chromatic Aberration for the Galil, except that it's white. Finally, for the SSG08 is Turbo Peak at $5.49. This skin has a pretty cool retro vibe, and it's painted with a bunch of cars. The bolt is also painted like a shifter, which is a pretty cool idea. Moving on to the AWP, we have Mortis at $1.53. This skin is painted with some really nice art depicting a Grim Reaper on the stock, and I really like the gold used on this skin. Next for the AWP is Atheris at $2.26. I really like the green on this skin, but I'm biased because I use this skin on my AWP. The snake on the body of the AWP and the scales on the scope are also really well done. Finally for the AWP is Duality at $4.17. This is another really common AWP skin, but I think it's for good reason. The art on this skin is great, and the splash of pink offers some really nice contrast. Moving on to the Scar 20, we have Blueprint at 18 cents. Just like the USP-S skin, this skin is a really nice dark blue, and the light blue outlines are also really nice. Next for the Scar 20 is Bloodsport at $3.11. Just like the MP7 skin, I love the use of decals and logos on this skin, and the colorway is still super good looking. Finally for the Scar 20 is Cardiac at $3.99. I like the blue on this skin, and the orange is a really nice contrast to the blue. This skin also has a heartbeat pattern on it, which is a cool detail that obviously fits the name of the skin. Moving on to the G3SG1, we have Green Apple at 9 cents. This skin is a solid green, which I think is pretty nice, albeit very simple. Because of how cheap this skin is, you might want to spring for a higher float, just so it looks a little nicer. Next for the G3SG1 is the Executioner at $1.76. This skin is another rugged and worn looking skin, and although I'm not a big fan of the skin, I think the skull pattern under the scope and all the colors used are pretty nice. Finally for the G3SG1 is Orange Kimono at $2.30. I like the pattern on the gun and the yellow and orange used, but the skin wears pretty bad, which I think is really unfortunate. Moving on to the Nova, we have Candy Apple at 7 cents. This skin is a really bright red and doesn't really have anything else going for it, but I think it's pretty nice, even though it's a really simple skin. Next for the Nova is Rust Coat at $1.84. I imagine most people won't like this skin, but if you're into really worn and rugged skins, I could definitely see you liking this. Finally for the Nova is Clear Polymer at $2.78. This skin has a pretty cool pseudo-transparent body going on, and the green parts inside the gun are a nice splash of color, but unfortunately, the internals don't actually move at all. Moving on to the XM1014, we have Oxide Blaze at 7 cents. This is basically the go-to cheap XM skin, and I personally use the StatTrak Oxide Blaze on my XM. This skin is pretty simple, just rust and some white flames. Next for the XM1014 is XOXO at $1.50. This skin is very colorful, and it also has some pretty unique graffiti designs on it that you might like. Finally for the XM1014 is Incinerator at $1.65. This skin has an alligator's mouth on the side with flames spitting out down the barrel, which is fitting considering the skin's name is a portmanteau of incinerator and alligator. Moving on to the Mag 7, we have BI-83 Spectrum at 72 cents. This is another really vibrant and colorful skin, and it has a ton of little squares and lines and a bunch of other stuff going on. It's busy, but I like it. Next for the Mag 7 is Copper Coated at $1.15. This skin just looks like someone poured copper all over a Mag 7. It's a pretty interesting concept, and I like how shiny it is. Finally for the Mag 7 is Justice at $2.38. This skin is a shiny metallic, and it's inspired by the Justice Tarot card, and I think it looks really nice and really well done. Moving on to the Sawed-Off, we have Wasteland Princess at $1.68. This skin is a bright pink, covered in graffiti, and has some graphics on it, including a woman's lips, some bombs, and a star. Next for the Sawed-Off is Kiss Heart Love at $2.99. This is another commonly seen skin, probably due to the fact it's a really nice purple and has an anime girl on it, but I can't disagree. It's a nice skin. Finally, for the sawed-off is Devourer at $4.14. This skin is very similar to Angry Mob for the 5.7. It has a cartoony monster on it as well as a vibrant colorway. Moving on to the M249, we have OS IPR at 9 cents. This skin is here solely because I didn't include it in my skins under $1 video, but Tarsal Monkey Boy pointed it out to me, and it's definitely a good pick for the M249. Next for the M249 is Warbird at $1.09. This skin is meant to look old and worn, and it definitely achieves that. Personally though, I'm not really a fan of this skin. Finally, for the M249 is the Nebula Crusader at $1.26. This skin has a really unique arcade game aesthetic, and I think it's a cool concept that works surprisingly well. And finally, moving on to the Negev, we have Dev Texture at 24 cents. This skin also wasn't included in my skins under $1 video, and that's because I think it wears very badly. I still think that, but it's here because there aren't any other good Negev skins. Next for the Negev is Loudmouth at 63 cents. This skin is a worn yellow color and it has a big cartoony mouth on the side along with eyes on the iron sight. It also has a flame pattern on the barrel. Finally for the Negev is Power Loader at 98 cents. This skin is really bright compared to the other Negev skins and I really like the color scheme. This is probably one of the best Negev skins in my opinion. So, that's 3 more cheap skins for every gun in CS2, under $5. Let me know what budget you want to see next, or what other video ideas you want to see. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you disliked the video, dislike it. And if you want to know when I release new videos, subscribe. Anyway, I am BP, and I'll see you in the next video.